I'm gonna be honest, I loved Pokemon Duel. If you somehow haven't heard of Pokemon Duel, it was a mobile strategy board game that was released in 2016 and was personally one of my favorite mobile games growing up. In Pokemon Duel, you basically just use the abilities and moves of each of your figurines to attack enemy units, and eventually place your figurine on your opponent's goal. This simple concept, mixed with the tactical and strategic moves in the game, made it extremely fun to come up with team synergies. Since it shut down, I've been wanting to find that same feeling from a game ever since. This is when I decided that I wanted to create my own version of it. I've already had some experience with Unity, and since the game is constrained to a board, I thought it would be a cool project to undertake and share my progress. The first thing that I needed to create was the board. For starters, I just wanted to recreate the original Pokemon Duel design. This design is essentially 4 lanes with entry points at the corners and a goal in the middle. Basically, each space on the board acts as a node, and inside of its script, it holds a reference to any adjacent nodes. With this, it creates a node tree that I can iterate through whenever I need to calculate movement. Then, I just have to add a few icons representing the special spaces. There are the entry spaces, which allow figurines to move onto the board when they're on the bench, and the goal spaces, which is how you win the game, which are signified by the crown. Each figurine has a certain number of movement spaces, ranging from 1 to 3 spaces. Usually tankier figurines will be slower but stronger, while weaker figurines will be faster to compensate. Once I added in movement for each figurine with the little hop animations, I created a bench for each team. You'll be able to select what units you want to bring in before the match, and it will be able to spawn on the bench before you can move them onto the board. Basically, I just have a file that stores all the data about your team, and once this battle scene appears, it loads that file and dynamically spawns all the units onto your board. The extra 2 slots on the side of the bench is called the infirmary, which is where your units will go when they die. After another unit dies, it'll be pushed further along the infirmary track until it eventually ends up back on your bench where it can be played again. Before I started working on the combat system, I thought to myself, what's the point of a combat system if I'm just going to be playing against myself? If I want this game to be official, I'm going to have to make it multiplayer so that I can test my strategies against other people. Basically, that meant I had to dive into the fiery pit of multiplayer netcode. Ultimately, working with netcode for the first time was just terrible. I would often stop working on the game for a bit when I got stuck, then try to pick it back up again and completely forget all the stuff that I had learned. Eventually though, I was able to get a good enough understanding of netcode and RPCs that I was able to convert my entire game to work for multiplayer. RPCs are basically the key to sending data between a server and a client, and ensures that all instances of the game are on the same page. This new concept basically forced me to change the entire way that my code worked and required a redesign of a lot of the code architecture. Luckily, I also found this package called Parallel Sync, as it allows me to duplicate my Unity editor into multiple instances so that I can quickly test my gameplay functionality, and also it works for local server hosting for my multiplayer code. And by the way, if you guys want these videos to be more or less technical, definitely let me know in the comments below, and also let me know if you guys would like a more in-depth explanation of how I got my netcode working. That would definitely have to be an entirely separate video though, but yeah, just let me know. Anyways, on to the combat system. So I knew that I wanted to capture the essence of what made Pokemon Duel exciting and fun, but there were definitely aspects of the game that I felt had some issues. I wanted my game to have some uniqueness to it, instead of being simply a direct copy, so my first change was to the combat. This might be a hot take, but I honestly was not a fan of the wheel system in Pokemon Duel. For those of you who don't know, whenever 2 Pokemon would attack, each Pokemon would spin a wheel to decide what moves took effect. As a big chess player, I'm not a huge fan of RNG, but I understand that it's essential for games to be dynamic and exciting in some cases. Although Pokemon Duel had some very fun moments where I would kill a unit with a high damage attack, or when my Shuppet would land a Will-O-Wisp and get me a free win, there were also many instances where it felt like combat was simply out of your control. You could be stuck in a stalemate where unless somebody landed on a miss or got very unlucky with their wheel, no side would be making any progress. So instead, I opted for a system that gives the player 3 options for moves, with each one having a different move cooldown, very similar to Dislight's combat system. Due to this system, I also added damage stats, defense stats, and a health system to divide the combat with a few RPG elements, and allow for some more interesting moves. With this system, each unit has a basic ability that doesn't have a cooldown, making it a simple attack that you could always use. Then, units have 2 other moves that are more complex that they could use strategically in order to give themselves a tactical advantage. I've had a lot of success with this combat system so far, as it creates an interesting style of rock, paper, scissors that feels fun and engaging. For instance, here's an example of combat that me and my friend Bryant are constantly battling with. By the way, Bryant is also the one who made the music for my game, so shout out to Bryant for all of his incredible help and support. His links will be in the description below. So the first basic unit that I add to the game is Rook, just a basic knight. Rook has 3 moves: Slash, which deals 6 damage with no cooldown, Block with a 2-turn cooldown, which blocks 1 instance of damage, and Empowered Strike, an attack that deals a whopping 17 damage and has a 3-turn cooldown. So say Bryant's Rook has 15 health left. I'd want to send this unit to the infirmary to allow me to move further along the board, so I'd be inclined to use Empowered Strike. However, if I use Empowered Strike and Bryant uses Block, my move will be completely blocked and deal no damage, effectively wasting it. So this provided me 2 options: either use Slash, predicting that he would block my Empowered Strike so I can waste his block, or hope that he doesn't use Block at all, anticipating that I'll just use Slash instead. I've focused a lot on this type of interaction between units, and it creates a very exciting choice for both players. Sometimes I can bait him to use blocks, but most of the time he guesses that I will just use Slash and I just cry a bit inside. In Pokemon Duel, they had a deck of cards that were used to basically mix up the game. These would be used outside of actual combat and could provide you with certain advantages like being able to deal more damage or even hop over an enemy unit. I thought it would be more interesting to give this functionality to units in order to make them feel more impactful to your team. That is when I decided to add a new unit called Bulwark. This guy is basically the bane of my existence due to the amount of times that he's completely broken my game and ruined basically every playtest. However, there were 2 huge core mechanics that came out of his creation. These new mechanics are move effects and external moves. So move effects are effects that occur after the combat has taken place and after units have dealt damage. In Bulwark's case, he has a move called Earthquake that pushes an enemy unit back a tile based on the user's choosing. Then we have external moves, which are basically moves that can be used outside of combat completely. Bulwark has the move Fortification, where he spawns a rock which can block lanes and stall enemy advances. The rock only has 10 HP and has no attacking moves, so the enemy is just forced to either wait out its lifespan of 3 turns or kill it quickly in order to continue to attack Bulwark. On top of this, the rock is able to perform essential surrounds, which could swiftly change the game's balance into your favor. Alright, I should talk about surround kills. So surrounding is a vital mechanic that allows you to kill an enemy unit if every adjacent tile is occupied by your own units. The enemy unit will die immediately without any chance for retaliation, so this mechanic is extremely powerful if you're able to maneuver your units properly. So basically, Bulwark has a combination of pushing enemy units around, blocking lanes, and creating rock walls that can be used to attack the enemy.
Yeah.
Bulwark is pretty strong if used correctly. I haven't fully gone over all the characters and units in the game, but I've been actively working on this game recently and it's been a huge project that I've been working on. So if you guys are interested in the game, feel free to subscribe to stay tuned for some more devlogs about future units and mechanics. Also, if you guys want to provide feedback or have any comments or concerns, I have a Discord link down below. I'd definitely be interested in doing a larger scale playtest if this game gets some traction, so definitely check out the Discord to stay updated.